Hello, and welcome to this lesson on the Reconstruction legacies and amendments. There are 3 legacies and 3 amendments. We are going to talk about what each of these terms means, as well as how they impact America during the Reconstruction time period. So just to remind you before we get started, Reconstruction is the time period in which America is trying to rebuild itself after the Civil War, both physically as well as with relationships. So let's begin. First, I want to go over the directions for completing flipped lessons with you. First, I need you to turn over your paper. You need to watch and listen to the video one time without looking at your notes. You need to look at your notes and see if you can complete any without watching again. And then the final step is to watch the video again and pause as you complete the notes. So you will end up watching this video 2 times before you are able to complete the lesson. In that way, you commit a lot of this information to your long-term memory, and it will help you when we do activities in class as well as on the test. So let's begin. After you've turned over your paper, you can start relaxing and watching the video. Try to retain as much as you can. A legacy is a lasting impression left by someone on others or on society. One person who you might think of when you think of the word legacy would be George Washington. He was the first president of our country. A lot of the things he did, other presidents who followed him did as well because of his legacy. He left that impression on our society. So we have 3 people that we're going to focus on when it comes to their legacies of Reconstruction. The first one is Abraham Lincoln's legacy. He had a Reconstruction plan that called for reconciliation of the North and South. Reconciliation means to become friends again. So even though the war was still happening, Abraham Lincoln starts to think about what the peacetime is going to look like. What is the after Civil War time going to look like, and how are we going to come back together as Americans and work together? The other focus was that preservation of the Union was more important than punishing the South. Abraham Lincoln wanted to welcome the South back with open arms so that we could reunite as Americans and preserve our country, not damage it further by punishing the South. Even though they rebelled, he thought we should welcome them back. So the people who craft Reconstruction, even though Abraham Lincoln is gone, he leaves this legacy behind that helps the people who are working on Reconstruction follow up with his ideas. Robert E. Lee is another man who leaves a legacy during this time period. As he fought for the South, he urges Southerners at the end of the war to reconcile with Northerners at the end of the war and reunite as Americans, even though some of the Southerners wanted to keep fighting. Robert E. Lee says to them, look, we fought, we tried, we lost. Now it's time to reunite as one country and move forward. So even though he fought for the South, he had some ideas to help bring the country back together again. And the third legacy we are going to focus on is that of Frederick Douglass. Frederick Douglass is an African-American man who fights for the adoption of constitutional amendments that guarantee voting rights for citizens. So that means that everybody can vote and participate in our government, which is a democracy, and in our elections. And we're going to talk about what constitutional amendments are momentarily. He also was a powerful voice for human rights, for treating people as if they were people and how you would want to be treated, as well as for civil liberties for all people. So he spoke out in support of all people getting their civil liberties and their rights and being treated equally under the laws, no matter what they looked like. We're going to transition from the legacies to the amendments. An amendment is an article or new law added to the U.S. Constitution. The original amendments were 10 in number, and that's called the Bill of Rights. We are going to start with amendment number 13, which is one of the 3 Reconstruction laws added to the Constitution. The 13th Amendment bans slavery in the U.S. and any of its territories. The 13th Amendment is what sets the slaves free. While Abraham Lincoln gave the Emancipation Proclamation, where he symbolically freed the slaves, the 13th Amendment is what makes it a law that applies to every single U.S. state and territory. To ban something means to make it illegal. You can't do it anymore. The 14th Amendment grants citizenship to all persons born in the United States and guarantees them equal protections under the law. Slaves were not considered to be citizens, even though they were born in the United States. So now that the slaves are freed, we want to protect them by giving them citizenship because they were born here, and so they should be afforded the same protections as everybody else. And the 15th Amendment ensures that all citizens have the right to vote. So the 14th Amendment grants them citizenship, and the 15th Amendment makes sure that if you're a citizen, you're allowed to vote. Even if you're black, if you're white, that's what the law allows for. So these Reconstruction amendments help a lot of people, but they do not help everyone at the time. So although these three amendments guarantee equal protection under the law for all citizens, American Indians and women did not receive the full benefits of citizenship until later. American Indians and women are two groups of people in the United States who are not allowed to vote until well into the 1900s. So they are not afforded those protections. They also don't get the same protection as citizenship to the United States, even though these are two other groups that were born here. So that's an important thing to keep in mind. While the Reconstruction Amendments try to make some advances in these areas, the United States still has a long way to go to guarantee equal rights for all of its citizens. So those are the three legacies and three amendments that you need to know from Reconstruction. Please rewatch this video as many times as you need. Complete the assignment that corresponds with the video, and make sure you complete the reflection questions at the end of your assignment because I want to hear what you have to say. So thank you for tuning in this time, and I will see you again in class. Have a great afternoon.